Hello, Key Club members. Welcome to Key Club International's Summer Leadership Conference. We're beyond delighted to host the first ever virtual conference for Key Club members around the world. Normally I'd be dinging the official bell at opening ceremony, but this is the best I could find in my kitchen, so we'll just have to make do. Over the course of the past 3 months, our traditional ways of service has changed drastically. Pancake feeds turned into virtual luncheons, and Miracle Minutes turned into t-shirt fundraisers. Every student has been confronted with the uncomfortable fact that service is changing. As an organization, a majority of our service projects have been centered around communities and schools. But now it's time for us to shine a light on servant leadership at home. Individual-based service is the new norm, but how does Key Club fit into that? Well, it's great you're here, because not only are we hosting this conference to celebrate the service year, but also to improve our knowledge on the way servant leadership is ever changing. Over the next 3 days, we'll be challenged to think creatively, pushed outside of our comfort zone, and encouraged to go above and beyond in our service and leadership to our homes, schools, and of course, our communities. The International Board has collaborated over the past year to improve and maintain the organization. We've had amazing opportunities presented to us, but have also had some hurdles that we've had to jump over. We wouldn't be here without the support of our board counselor, George Delisle, our international director, Greg Stowers, and our program specialist, Laura Holloway, and of course, you, our members. It's truly an honor to serve on the International Board, and an even bigger one to hear from all of you. I can speak for the board and say we're beyond excited to share the next few days with you. We will now hear remarks from the Kiwanis President-elect Art Riley. Author Art Riley of Westminster, Maryland, was elected to a 1-year term as President-elect at the 104th Annual Kiwanis International Convention in Orlando, Florida, USA in June 2019. Art's dedication to Kiwanis began in 1956 during travel with his father to the International Convention in San Francisco, California. That experience gave him an initial view of the Kiwanis world, which resulted in his involvement in many Kiwanis activities. Official service began as a member of Key Club and has continued as a member of the Kiwanis Club of Westminster, Maryland for 39 years, serving in many leadership positions. Additionally, he is a member of the Centennial Internet Club and the Kiwanis Club of State Line, Maryland. Art's leadership has been demonstrated as a Key Club Lieutenant Governor and numerous positions within the Capital District, accumulating as governor in 2007 to 2008. During his tenure in the Kiwanis International Board, Art has served as counselor to 12 Kiwanis districts and traveled to more than 30 districts. Additionally, Art and his wife, Vicky, participated in a site visit for the Eliminate Project to Cambodia in conjunction with UNICEF. Serving on board committees has resulted in a passion for recognizing and fulfilling the Kiwanis mission of serving children, strengthening Kiwanis through expanded service and partnership development, improving the Kiwanis image worldwide, and expanding international understanding. For the 2018-19 administrative year, he serves as chair of the board of directors of the Kiwanis Youth Programs, chair of the board committee on public relations, image and marketing, and member of the executive committee and board committee on membership and education. He's also a member of the board of trustees of the Kiwanis Children's Fund.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Key Club Summer Leadership Conference. I'm glad to be joining you virtually, although I'm sorry we didn't get to make the trip to San Francisco together. As I've been thinking about these past few months, I've been impressed with how much Key Club has been able to adapt and change to meet the circumstances head on. That is a skill that will benefit you for your entire life, and especially as leaders within Key Club. As we all do, we come to a meeting or a service project with a solid plan, but when something inevitably changes, draw on those new skills and adapt, change, and succeed in the mission. Your voices are needed in this world. You bring new ideas. Be heard, then take action. Work for the positive change we need in the Kiwanis family. the positive change we need in society. But if circumstances don't go your way, remember the lesson of these days: adapt, change, and succeed. The world and the Kiwanis family is counting on you. I appreciate the work of this year's International Board and the guidance of Kiwanis International Board Counselor George Delisle. I look forward to working with your new International Board and your next Board Counselor, Gary Cooper. To each of you participating right now, thank you for all you have done for Key Club. Your contributions and dedication during a most challenging time expands your mind and your vision. I look forward to seeing you and whatever the future has in store for you.
We will now hear remarks from Kiwanis Youth Program's Executive Director, Michelle Studi-Campbell. A native Hoosier, Michelle Studi-Campbell is a graduate of Marian University and has her Master of Public Affairs from Indiana University. With 20 years of experience in government and nonprofit leadership, Michelle found her passion for community service at an early age. Her first project, organizing the 6th grade book drive for a local shelter, sparked a fire that has driven her into community service ever since. Michelle recently served as president of the Junior League of Indianapolis for the 2015 to 2017 term and has been recognized for her community leadership as a member of the 2013 Indianapolis Business Journal's 40 Under 40 and is a graduate of Stanley K. Lacey Executive Leadership class. She previously served as CEO at Ronald McDonald House Charities of Central Indiana for over 4 years, leading the organization through unprecedented growth. She made her way to Kiwanis in 2019, serving as the first ever Director of Youth Protection for Kiwanis International, and on January 1st, 2020, became the Executive Director of Kiwanis Youth Programs. Michelle enjoys spending time with her husband, Michael, and daughter, Rosemary Catherine, in her spare time baking, crafting, and figure skating, feeding her soul and filling her social media feed.
Hi. First and foremost, thank you so much for logging on and joining us today at our first ever Summer Leadership Conference. A huge shout out to Kaylina, Caitlin, and your entire 2019-2020 Key Club International Board of Trustees, all of our governors, and of course, our fantastic ICON committee. You have all worked so hard throughout this entire year, and we are so incredibly grateful for your leadership and commitment to Key Club International. We are so glad that y'all could join and log on and join us today in what is certainly what some would say a unique time, a historic time, a troubling time. There's a lot of words to describe what the last 15 weeks have been. And we know that in just those few short 15 weeks, the world as we knew it, or we had planned to know it, has certainly changed. And we are in awe of how each and every one of our members have responded. While spring breaks, class trips, proms, and graduations have been postponed or moved or rescheduled or reimagined and sometimes even canceled, your service and leadership, that pressed on. Those weren't canceled. You shared with us your passion for service, and you quickly figured out how to not only survive these new times, but to thrive. We applaud your passion, drive, and ingenuity as you found ways to serve your community's needs and each other. We fully realize that this is not the conference that you had envisioned. Our Board of Trustees, the ICON Committee, district administrators, and your KI staff team worked quickly to build an online version of our beloved ICON experience. And we feel confident that over the next 2 days, you're going to learn a great deal. You're going to make new connections, even virtually. And in these next few days of sessions, you're going to build on the ideas and plans that you had to have greater impact collectively as part of the Key Club family. Well, this year is not starting as expected. Time does march on. And indulge me here for a couple minutes as I talk about the history of Key Club. While this year is not starting out as we expected, we've covered that. Nearly 100 years, Key Club has continued on. We started out in 1925 in Sacramento, California, when two young men wanted to start a club for a thing they had heard about called Kiwanis. And from those early conversations, the Key Club that we all know and love today was launched. 1925, we started Key Club International just 4 years before the globe would be gripped by the Great Depression. So we essentially began a startup just before the biggest financial crisis in our history. And yet we grew. We grew membership steadily from 1925 through the 30s and in 1943, which is when, during the height of World War II, we grew to our international status by holding an international convention and electing our first international president. We grew Key Club during recessions, depressions, conflicts, and coups, and of course, during times of great global advances. Since 1925, in each and every decade, we have set milestones, broken records, and increased our impact. Key Club members have always served their communities regardless of the current economic or political climates, by connecting to their community and their members, and by focusing on what matters: service and leadership. Now, more than ever, our mission, values, and objects are critically important. When times are tough, our values of leadership, character building, caring, and inclusiveness matter. These are the traits that have and will guide our organization to greater growth and impact. This is your time, Key Clubbers. Your clubs, your members, your advisors, and your community need you now. Service and leadership are the corners of our organization. And throughout this summer leadership conference, you will learn more about the history of the organization, more importantly, the future of our organization, and all of the nuts and bolts of leadership and impact and service. But more importantly, you will learn more about yourself, your leadership style, and you will continue to build out those fantastic plans and goals for your clubs and districts. And you will form those lasting friendships that will carry you through 2020 and beyond. In closing, Key Club International has been synonymous with student service and leadership and impact for nearly 100 years. And although these times are uncertain, we remain certain in our belief that all of our members and volunteers exemplify our values of leadership, character building, caring, and inclusiveness. Again, thank you so much for joining us here today and throughout the next couple of days for this summer leadership conference. We have a great lineup of speakers and programs. And as always, stay healthy, stay hopeful, and we look forward to the upcoming school year. Have a great conference.
The impact and loss of COVID-19 has been felt particularly hard in our senior and elderly community. To date, over 40% of all COVID-19 deaths have come from nursing homes. In response to the harsh impact of COVID-19 on our senior communities and nursing homes, have had to restrict or eliminate their programming, leaving many seniors to feel even more alone and isolated. But you can help. Today and through the conference, we are asking you to grab your art supplies and make some cards and notes of cheer to send to your local nursing homes. We will compile the number of cards and notes created via a form stack with prizes for clubs and districts with the most entries. We'll utilize the hashtag KeyClub20 for additional engagement around this at-home service project, but the conference as well.
Felice Felice Gorordo is CEO of Emerge Americas, a venture-backed platform focused on transforming Miami into the tech hub of the Americas and organizing the largest tech event connecting the Americas held annually at the Miami Beach Convention Center. In 2019, Emerge's sixth annual conference attracted more than 16,000 attendees and 3,900 unique companies from over 40 countries. Felice is a successful entrepreneur, advisor, and operator. Most recently, he was president and CEO of ClearPath, a venture-backed tech company focused on revolutionizing the confusing, costly, and paper-based immigration filing process, just as TurboTax transformed tax filing. Following the acquisition of ClearPath, Felice served as CEO of L1BRE, a venture-backed tech company that aims to transform urban mobility in Latin America with operations in the US and Mexico, and developed a proprietary platform for the largest taxi fleet in the world, with 138,000 cabs in circulation and an average of 2.2 million daily riders. Prior to that, Felice was appointed by President Barack Obama as one of 15 2011-2012 White House Fellows, and served in the White House Office of Public Engagement and Intergovernmental Affairs, working on Latino, immigration, and business outreach. In this capacity, he organized the first ever White House Conference on Connecting the Americas, which included the participation of then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, several cabinet secretaries, and high-level business and government leaders from throughout the Americas and lead up to the 2012 Summit of the Americas. Felice also co-founded and leads Roots of Hope, a nonprofit focused on youth empowerment in Cuba through technology and entrepreneurship. In 2009, he was an advisor to Grammy winner Juanes and helped organize the historic Peace Without Borders concert in Cuba with 1.2 million in attendance. Felice is a graduate of Georgetown University and started his career working in President Bush's White House Office of Political Affairs.
My name is Felice Gorordo. I'm a former Key Club International Vice President from 2000-2001. I'm Cuban American. I'm first generation American. My dad came here from Cuba when he was 5 years old. My mom came here when she was 15. We're in Little Havana. This is where the first wave of Cuban exiles came to live in. Now they're pretty much spread around the entire city, but this is where the first wave came. And now we're gonna do something very Cuban, have some Cuban coffee in the window. It's very common, you know, this is where you come, you lay, have a little bit, you want some coffee? First time I went to Cuba was bittersweet. To connect with young people who were disaffected, marginalized, had no real hope for a future for themselves on the island. But at the same time, I connected with another group of young people who were very determined to make a better life for themselves and for their family on the island, who were hopeful about Cuba's future. And it inspired me to come back home and do something about it. The group's called Roots of Hope. In Spanish, it's Raíces de Esperanza. What we've done is, over the course of the last 6 years, is sponsored initiatives that connect young people here with young people in Cuba through the internet, through conference calls between youth on both sides. We've also sponsored or rather published a guide called an exchange guide.
So it's literally a 1, 2, 3 for how young people over here can connect with young people over there in Cuba.
Our focus is to empower young people in Cuba to become the authors of their own futures, to exercise their most basic human rights, and to be able to actualize their dreams on the island, to make a better life for themselves and their families in Cuba.
Am I better because of Key Club, or is Key Club better because of me? I would say 100% I am better because of Key Club. It forever changed my life. It grounded me in a set of principles that has shaped my career, my personal life, It's given me a framework to look at the world, and I know I'm 100% better individual because of it. If Key Clubbers want to get involved in Roots of Hope, check out www.raicesdeesperanza.org or www.rootsofhope.org.
I just want to welcome everyone to the Key Club International Summer Leadership Conference, the first ever time we've done something like this. I want to thank you all for attending, for taking the time to be here. And I'm really here as Director Greg Stowers to moderate a conversation between our current Key Club International President, Kaylina Schnack, and former Key Club International Vice President, Felice Gordo. Felice, would you mind just giving a brief background on yourself?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Greg, and thank you, Kaylina. It is a real honor and a privilege to be back with Key Club, even if it's virtually. My background is both in government and in tech. I served in the White House under President George W. Bush and President Barack Obama. And then since then, I've made a career in technology. Currently, I'm CEO of Emerge Americas, a venture-backed tech platform focused on helping transform South Florida into a tech hub of the Americas.
Very cool. Obviously, you have a very diverse background in getting there. But in terms of Key Club, what are the most important lessons that you learned from your experience, again, from Key Club to get to where you are now?
Yeah, so Key Club was for me probably one of the most formative experiences of my high school years. It helped unearth and cultivate in me a desire to serve my community, and truly live up to the motto of caring being our way of life. I think there's many lessons that it taught me, but I would say that probably one of the most meaningful ones was how to organize your community around a common goal. And that was true for me in college when I started a nonprofit, a foundation that still exists today called Roots of Hope. And its mission is to empower young people in Cuba to become the authors of their own futures. And I learned how to first come up with this idea, build a team around it, help raise money and resources, and get our message out through my experience at Key Club. It taught me the leadership skills and the management skills required to be able to do that, and also to be able to authentically communicate why it is that you're doing what you're doing, to get folks to contribute with their time, their talent, and their treasure. And over the course of the last 15 years or so, we've been able to make some incredible strides in helping empower young people on the island to self-actualize their potential through technology and through entrepreneurship. And that would have not been possible if it were not for Key Club.
Wow, I'm just blown away with how much you achieved since Key Club, and you took the skills from Key Club to develop such an amazing platform for yourself. Obviously, there were some challenges along the way. It wasn't just super easy for you and Key Club and outside of that. But speaking in your Key Club days, what were some challenges that you had to face and overcome?
So challenges, actually, I would say, would have been, it's not enough to just have a great idea. You have to make it actionable. And so it's coming up with a realistic plan that helps you generate the interest and also the goodwill from stakeholders around you who also want to be able to accomplish that same goal. And I'll give you a very tangible example. When I was lieutenant governor of the Florida district, we had a project with a runaway shelter based in South Florida, and it was a peer mentoring program, and the idea was for us to figure out a model that could be replicated all across the state. That took resources, and so we had to build a plan, almost similar to what you would call in business a business plan of how we were going to accomplish the goals that we set out to accomplish. And I was then basically taking that plan around to donors, first across our community, but then across the entire state, to help us raise the resources we needed to be able to scale our project. And I got a lot of no's right off the bat, not because folks didn't believe in what we were doing, but just for one reason or another, it wasn't the right fit. And I think what Key Club taught me was that if you believe in what you're doing and you can really tap into the reason why it is that you do what you do, that will help you break through all the no's to what eventually are the yeses. And they give you the ability to be able to take that vision or that idea you have in your mind and make it a reality. We raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, thankfully, and we were able to touch thousands of lives of runaways who were impacted by the project that we set out to accomplish.
I think that kind of speaks to the importance of teamwork, right? There was a team building aspect to what you all were doing. So how has that played a role in not only your Key Club life, but where you are now in terms of utilizing teams to get the job done?
So it's a great question, Greg, and that's absolutely very much was a tenet of my experience with Key Club. I think one of the great experiences that Key Club afforded me was the ability to connect with young leaders all across our state, and then later on as Key Club International Vice President, all across the world, and to draw on the collective passion and skills that each one had to offer. And I think what I learned also from that was the power in being able to draw on a very diverse and inclusive network of young leaders that can do remarkable things. And that was true of the district that I represented, which was Louisiana, Mississippi, West Tennessee. And this is a 20-year-old shirt that I have saved since then because it's one of my prized possessions from that experience. And it was just incredible. I toured Lamiston, but I was able to go to Haiti, Dominican Republic, all across the U.S. And work and serve alongside Key Clubbers in all the parts around the world where we have a Kiwanis club, and then in other places even where we were starting to open up clubs. And that I think was also true of then experiences that I could draw on later on in life. In 2005, there was a devastating hurricane named Katrina that hit the Gulf Coast. I was serving at the time in government, but having had that experience, that very formative experience in my high school years in Lamiston, it drew me back to want to volunteer and serve there in what was our reconstruction effort. And I leaned on a lot of the relationships, a lot of the friendships, a lot of the networks from my high school years, just 5 years before that. And like that, there are many, many stories because what Key Club also does, it forges lifelong friendships and mentorships that have been foundational in my life, professionally and personally.
I think everything you're saying, the planning, the teamwork, it directly is applicable to every entity of Key Club. It's applicable to the international board. This past year, we worked on the strategic plan for the next 5 years, and that took a lot of teamwork. It took a lot of, we got to think of big ideas and think ahead. District boards, more so might be their convention each year, and then clubs, their service projects. And you had mentioned mentorships and mentors. Personally, how has the mentor relationship affected you, and who are your greatest mentors in your life?
So I've had some amazing, I've been very fortunate to have had some amazing mentors in my life. that have helped me through the good and the bad and the ugly that life just throws at you. And one of those was my club advisor, a woman by the name of Amy Bousquet. She was my British lit teacher by day, and then by afternoon, evening, she was almost a second mom. And she was incredible in so many different ways. But one way that she taught me how to be a better person was she suffered from rheumatoid arthritis. And it was my first time ever having come across a chronic disease, let alone an autoimmune disease. And through that experience, I learned what it was to be a caregiver of sorts to someone you cared about. And later on in life, I would have two instances where I would draw on that experience. First one was actually when I met my now wife, then girlfriend, in college, who I started realizing was exhibiting similar symptoms to what Miss Bousquet had shown. And I realized that she had an autoimmune disease herself. And I encouraged her to go get tested, and let alone she had something called lupus. And then shortly after that, or not shortly after that, several years after that, my mother was diagnosed with late stage pancreatic cancer. And it was a 2-year journey that unfortunately ended with her being reunited with her creator and being taken from us at an untimely death of almost 56 years old. And but with that 2 years where we at least had an opportunity to be able to help her realize lifelong dreams and walk alongside her through that journey, I learned and I drew on the experience of having been a caregiver earlier on in life to help her through her journey. So those are two instances that I would say for a mentor, how a mentor helped me in my life outside of the professional side. On the professional side, I would say mentors are incredibly important in your career, more so than you even think early on. I know a lot of very successful folks in business and in government who credit their success to the life lessons they learned early on in life through mentors. And I could say that the same is true for me and has been in my public service as well as in business. I think being open and receptive to feedback, being a sponge for experiences and opportunities, and always willing to do the work, and to not being scared to ask for help. Mentorship relationships that have been formative in my life.
So, I think that brings up a really interesting point as it relates to mentors, specifically in the Key Club world. I think there is an emphasis for our students. Success is the emphasis, right? We want our students to be successful, but can you kind of talk about times where you failed and how that was able to teach you a valuable lesson? And I'm pretty sure all the adults probably have a similar kind of story in that regard too.
Failure during Key Club, or failure in later on in life?
Or later on in life, failing up in a sense. Failing
up. So I am, now very, very much immersed in all things having to do with technology and innovation. Prior to my current job as CEO of Emerge Americas, I had 2 tech startups, and what I learned about business, let alone in tech and in the innovation space, is that it's all about failure. It's about learning how to fail, and to fail quickly, because that's how you learn. That's how you grow. That's how you better are able to assess what is the right product market fit when it comes to your next product. What I learned from my first experience was we had we had built a product that had a great idea, that was a great idea, and provided what we thought was a great service to our customers, to our community. But what we realized was folks didn't know how to use it, and let alone weren't willing to pay for it. Well, that would have helped if we would have learned that much earlier on, after we had raised several millions of dollars, and that forced us to look very hard in the mirror as to what it was that we were trying to accomplish, and put the needs of our users, of our customers, ahead of what we thought were the bells and whistles and the features of the product we were trying to sell that in the end they really didn't want. And the name of the company was a company called ClearPath. It was a software as a service platform for immigration. It was about making the immigration process easier, more affordable, more secure for immigrants to be able to file their immigration work themselves. And during that transition period, we literally were in the field in Fresno, California, with immigrant workers who were looking to adjust their status. We were doing pilots in Texas and Chicago, first putting out a minimal viable product that was very, very simple and focused on really just providing what it was what exactly they wanted, and then asking them for feedback on what other features we could add. Thankfully, we were able to then begin to hit a stride. We landed a partnership with H&R Block, another one with LegalZoom, and then shortly thereafter, our company was acquired. But at that stage where we realized we had hit a wall and we weren't getting the traction that we wanted, it could have been very easy for us to just throw in the towel and just give it up. But again, I think really knowing exactly what your why is, what it is that drives you, and what it is that you're trying to accomplish, was what helped me be able to break through that and come out the other side stronger.
And I guess a sort of a wrap-up question. We're living in incredibly unique times, and I want to make sure to give a shout out to Kaylina for her leadership during all this. I know she's going to make that face, but she has been a great leader for our organization and has showed a level of perseverance and resilience that many adults don't have. So, in that same vein, can you kind of talk about, how when there was a specific time where you had to persevere, where you had to be resilient? And again, I think that's probably the same thing for the adults. We can probably pivot to something specific, but can you talk about a time where you had to be resilient, you had to persevere?
So in 2009, I helped organize a peace concert in Cuba. And it was first of its kind. It was right at the beginning of the Obama administration, where we were starting to open up to Cuba, and we were allowing for folks to travel a little bit easier. But at the same time, it was still very taboo, very, very taboo in my community, in the Cuban American community. My family, came to this country in search of freedom and opportunity and their version of the American dream. But also very much fleeing communism in Cuba, and they left everything behind. They had family members who were imprisoned by that regime, and some who also paid the ultimate price. So for all those reasons, this was the idea of traveling back to Cuba was a very controversial issue, and it was not very popular in Miami, to say the least. At the same time, our message to young people on the island was that if they believed in themselves, they could be the change they wanted to be in the world. And for authoritarian governments and dictatorships, that's not a very popular message, and they don't really like that. And so they wanted to do everything that they could to stop it from happening. And they were literally folks on both sides of Florida Straits, here in Miami and folks in Cuba on the island, who were trying to stop this concert from happening. In the end, we believed very strongly in why we were doing what we were doing, and we tried as much as possible to communicate that. And in the end, we went off and to the island, and were able to literally have everything lined up for the concert. And then that morning, right before the concert, we heard that there were young dissidents who were being rounded up and detained. We learned of artists that were going to perform at this concert that were being censored and told that they couldn't, sing the songs that had already been agreed upon. And we had to make a choice. Do we go on with the concert, or that is trying to be manipulated, or stick to our guns as to why it is that we believe the concert, how the concert should be organized. And we decided to cancel the concert, and we told the performers and the artists that if the concert wasn't, if the folks didn't agree to or if the government rather did not agree to the principles that we had laid out originally, which was free assembly and freedom of speech, and for folks to be able to freely express themselves, then it wasn't worth doing. And what we realized was also we had leverage. We had about, according to the government's estimate, 100,000 young people who were in the center of the plaza, and around another million of folks who were lining up to try and get to the largest congregation point on the island. And that if we were the ones to cancel the concert on our own volition and on our principles, that the government would have to concede and let the show go on. And that's exactly what they did. But at the time, that was incredibly scary, and not something that I would have expected. But we were willing to risk it all for what we believed in, and in the end, it paid off.
Awesome. Any final thoughts, Kaylina?
I mean, just to the answer the last question is just incredibly empowering to hear as a student. The fact that you stuck to your values and what you believed in, I think, is incredibly empowering. And that's something that's been definitely leading the international board these past few months, of sticking to the core values of Key Club International, and just feeling validated in that sense of we're going in the right direction is definitely, it feels good on the inside. So thank you so much for your time today, and for being very vulnerable with us and answering these questions and leaving us with some thought-provoking stuff. So I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Kaylina and Greg. It's a real privilege to be able to join you again, even if only remotely. Right. I am so excited to see what are the amazing things that you're going to accomplish. Although I know that this is a very challenging time, given the pandemic and the virtual world we've had to now operate in, I really do encourage you and all your officers to make the most out of this experience, because what Key Club represents is truly a beacon of hope for our world, and you all are the future. And so I'm excited to see what comes of it.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, I know I can speak for the entire board when I say that this year went by way too quickly. Retiring is bittersweet because while we have loved every second of the past 12 months, we are also so excited to see what the 2020 to 2021 International Council will accomplish. But first,
the year in review. From the second we got elected, we all had big plans to help us assign responsibilities and be productive. We developed ad hoc committees and task forces, which were all able to accomplish wonderful things. To give you some highlights, the elections, the Governor and Administrator Training Conference, and the International Convention Committees all planned successful virtual events. The Brand Guide Task Force was also developed, and they created an updated brand guide, which you will all be able to utilize soon. And we also welcomed more member representatives to the 5 international committees, so we were able to accomplish even more. So in terms of the specific committees, the Executive Committee developed a President's Project, which will increase participation with a service partner each year. And they also developed the International Competition Pilot Program, which will take place at 2021 district conventions to emphasize hands-on service and how to plan events that will have the greatest impact on your communities. And also Key Club Week was revamped to increase engagement both in service and on social media. In terms of the Global Outreach Committee, that was the committee that worked as lieutenant governors to almost 200 non-districted clubs and helped translate materials to be more inclusive of clubs in countries worldwide. In terms of projects in which the entire board played a role, our social media was rebranded and more articles were published to the website, including the Meet the Board articles, which we really hope all of you enjoyed. None of that would have been possible without the collaboration of the Public Relations Committee. Our work on the strategic plan will also soon come to fruition, as well as the member guidebook that the Member and District Resources Committee worked so diligently to create. And lastly, the International Opportunities Committee started the process of reevaluating our service partners to focus more on transparency, accessibility, and opportunities for hands-on service. I hate to say that this is the last time we will all be together as a board, but we are all so proud of the goals we have attained, and we are all so grateful for your support. We're passionate about serving our members and those in need, and we are just as confident in the capabilities of future Key Clubbers. As we all move on to new chapters and experiences in the next year, always remember 2 things. 1, you are in this position for a reason, so don't ever doubt your abilities. And 2, with family comes strength. After all, Key Club might only last 4 years, but the Kiwanis family lasts a lifetime. Thank you so much for an unforgettable year.
Hello, my name is Riley Fang.
And I am Brandon Orick, and we serve as your 2020-2021 election chairs.
We will briefly cover this year's format of online elections.
In accordance with Key Club International bylaws, in the event that an in-person convention cannot be held, the International Council will become the voting members to elect the next international board.
This means that only governors, trustees, and the president and vice president can vote in this year's elections.
Candidates caucusing speeches will be uploaded through video format on Key Club International's YouTube. These caucus speeches will be viewable by anyone for 72 hours.
These will be ready to go on July 29th, but will be taken down after. The candidates booklet has been posted on keyclub.org.
We are super excited to announce the new international board at the end of this conference and over Instagram Live. We hope you have a great time at the first ever online summer leadership conference for Key Club International.
Hey Key Clubbers, Perez Hilton here. I was one of you once. Yes, I am an alum of the Key Club at Belen Jesuit Preparatory School in Miami, and it is my pleasure to let you all know that you're awesome. The world sees you, and I'm Perez Hilton. I hear all, I see all. I see each and every one of you and the amazing work that you're doing. Thank you for proving that real leadership isn't defined by age, race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, or body type. Leadership is you. Mwah! Perez Hilton loves you.
Hello again, everyone. We are just going to review the code of conduct and just adjourn this session so we can all get to workshops. So first, for the code of conduct, a unique virtual meeting Links and passwords will be used to access the KCI Summer Leadership Conference.
Once the meeting begins, the meeting chat function will be locked down so that any messages will be directed to KI staff. One-on-one chat functions between participants will be turned off.
Only Key Club staff and presenting officers will have access to share their screens. Participants will not be able to share their screens.
Appropriate attire. Appropriate tops and bottoms should be worn at all times.
Appropriate language. We want this to be a celebration and a welcoming event. Language should not be bullying in nature, vulgar, or name-calling.
Appropriate conduct. Any conduct of inappropriate, threatening, or offensive nature should be called out and stopped immediately.
Appropriate background and noise. Keep background images, distractions, and noise to a minimum. Host can also mute participants.
Unique virtual meeting links and passwords will be used to access KCI Summer Leadership Conference.
Once the meeting begins, as we've already said, the meeting chat function will be locked down so that any messages will be directed to KI staff. And also, just as a call to workshop for the, we hope you have fun at your workshops, but first the prize drawing question. What year was Key Club formed? And the second one, what year was our first truly international convention? There will be a prize for the first social media post using the hashtag KeyClub20, and the first person to email Greg Stowers gets the prize. His email is gstowers@Kiwanis, Kiwanis.org. First person to email him the correct answers to both questions gets the prize. We hope you have fun at your workshops.
That is so cute.